Glad to have you on the program that gives you first-hand info on health matters. I am Rekia Mahmoud Awal, your guide. Hypertension is a silent killer disease, and it is usually not detected on time. And today, we have guests in the studio who will be throwing more light on what hypertension is all about, and of course, our features. But before we meet our doctor, let us take the first feature on hypertension.
Anytime something is mentioned to be high, our minds form a picture of that thing possessing additional quality. For instance, high school, high mountain, high hill, or high price. Also, take a look at the high tension electricity. The wires are high and it does not supply direct electricity to individual homes because it is high and dangerous. In human lives, hypertension does not only possess an additional quality, it is dangerous and can lead to death. Nigeria leads other African countries in the number of people with hypertension. It is estimated that less than 1 in 5 Nigerians is hypertensive, which is alarming. On the global scale, hypertension is said to be responsible for an estimated 45% of deaths due to heart disease and 51% due to stroke. When this disease occurs, leading to death to some individuals, most people view them as supernatural due to belief in African tradition. But one fact to acknowledge is that an average Nigerian has so many
Glad to have you on the program that gives you first-hand info on health matters. I am Rekia Mahmoud Awal, your guide. Hypertension is a silent killer disease, and it is usually not detected on time. And today, we have guests in the studio who will be throwing more light on what hypertension is all about, and of course, our features. But before we meet our doctor, let us take the first feature on hypertension.
Anytime something is mentioned to be high, our minds form a picture of that thing possessing additional quality. For instance, high school, high mountain, high hill, or high price. Also, take a look at the high tension electricity. The wires are high and it does not supply direct electricity to individual homes because it is high and dangerous. In human lives, hypertension does not only possess an additional quality, it is dangerous and can lead to death. Nigeria leads other African countries in the number of people with hypertension. It is estimated that less than 1 in 5 Nigerians is hypertensive, which is alarming. On the global scale, hypertension is said to be responsible for an estimated 45% of deaths due to heart disease and 51% due to stroke. When this disease occurs, leading to death to some individuals, most people view them as supernatural due to belief in African tradition. But one fact to acknowledge is that an average Nigerian has so many high challenges in life that can cause hypertension.
Hypertension rate is still high in Nigeria, and there is still traditional belief and its consequences. Now let us take the next feature.
Despite the recent improvement in the control of infectious disease and malaria, hypertension has emerged as the major cause of morbidity and mortality in Nigeria. Most people with hypertension have no symptoms for years to alert them, but over time, the disease has led to the rise of serious health problems such as stroke, congestive heart failure, heart attack, and kidney failure. Lack of regular blood pressure checks has resulted as a major cause of hypertension.
Hypertension is a non-communicable disease, and hypertension has also been tagged as a silent killer. Hypertension simply means raised blood pressure, elevated blood pressure. And when we say raised blood pressure, that means that there's a benchmark that when the blood pressure is above that benchmark, is tagged as high. And there's also a benchmark when the blood pressure is below that benchmark, is tagged as low. We hardly want to look at hypertension as a silent killer because they don't know. The people are not educated enough to know, or majority don't even know the cost of it, or they don't see anything. They see a young man who is very strong, agile, above 50, enter his vehicle, driving, and then by the traffic light, is unable to move again. Because the person has been seen to be well, and all of a sudden, this individual is down and passed out. Our people, first thing they will point at is, enemies have done their worst.
Coupled with the lack of checks is the high cost of medical bills, which sometimes creates fears. Unfortunately, most Nigerians do not have medical insurance that would cover this little health condition and encourage routine medical checkups.
There should be a lot of dissemination and information like the type you people are doing now to sensitize the public. That hypertension affects everybody. Can affect you whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, can affect you whether you're white or black, can affect you whether you are rich or poor, irrespective of the sex. And because of that, they should know that they should seek medical help, and they should stop looking at the angle of witches and wizards being responsible. Rather, we should take care of ourselves. Most people in this part of the world, developing world, most people will hardly want to go to the hospital because probably we have so many things to grapple with. One can make excuse for them. But then, even though there's no money, even though there's no much time, NHIS is around now, National Health Insurance Scheme, and if you belong to one place, you can go and at least see your health worker and all that. And some people even go to the extent of going around in your locality. If you find out that some health care providers are coming around to do some free medical checkup, you can take the advantage of just going there too. An ordinary BP check may just help to help.
With these deficiencies, as well as some not mentioned, the onus now lies on the government to stem the surge of this health condition.
Lack of regular checks is the major cause of hypertension, and we should make it a duty to make regular checks so that we can avoid having hypertension. Now, Dr. Jibril will be speaking to us on hypertension. You're welcome back. As I have said earlier that we have a guest in the studio, Dr. Hassan Jibril, consultant geriatrics, Daytona Beach, Florida, who will be throwing more light on what hypertension is all about. Doctor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Rakia. And as she mentioned, my name is Dr. Hassan Bashir Jibril, based in Daytona Beach, Florida. And then at the same time, I have a hospital called Pine Castle Diabetic and Cardiovascular Center right in here in Abuja. So we are talking about hypertension. hypertension.
I'm sure that viewers, you know that we are going to have a good ride on knowing what hypertension is all about. Now, question, in the report we just saw, the report says that hypertension in Nigeria is twice our neighbors, and that less than 1 in 5 Nigerians is hypertensive. What could be responsible for this figure?
Genetic and environment. So we could be able to inherit hypertension through genetic factor, through our generations, and then at the same time, environment is also contributory factor with regard to excessive epidemic impact of hypertension or high blood pressure.
All right.
So I would like to describe this aspect: tension, anxiety, worriness, known and unknown. Known and unknown, this will trigger the blood pressure. So when the blood pressure it systolic, when it bite, it raise above 120. That is systolic, and then the diastolic rise above 80. Then this stage they call it free hypertension at the latest hypertensive guidelines. Now, if the systolic, which is at the higher level, reaches 130, diastolic means diastole, when the heart is resting. Systolic means systole, when the heart is beating. So when the diastolic went below 80, 85, then this one is considered, according to latest hypertensive guidelines, is stage 1 hypertension. Now, what about if the systolic went up to 160 and then the diastolic went to 90? Then this is also known as hypertensive stage 2. At this very level, the kidneys are affected. At this very level, the blood vessels, the blood, the heart, and the systolic and diastolic is also affected. So at this very level, we have to take immediate and quick action. Otherwise, we will develop complications. Complications, arteries, capillaries, veins will develop. So it will be constrictions and dilatations of the blood vessels. So in this process, then the blood vessels will rupture. So when the blood vessels ruptured, then that will cause ooze of the blood into the brain, into the cranial cavity. Then stroke will happen. Stroke is there, heart will be affected because the heart will not be able to receive enough blood. Then at the same time, the kidneys will also be able to affected because the kidneys will not be able to receive enough blood. So there is a constriction, vasoconstriction and vasodilation. So the kidneys, the brain, and the heart will also affected if this care is not taken quickly.
All right, doctor. Indeed, this is really a devastating ailment, as you have just explained. We really need to watch out for, this ailment. So now, still on that report that we just, watched, the report says that hypertension is responsible for an estimated 45% of death due to heart disease that you have just explained, and 51% of deaths due to stroke. At what stage can we say hypertension, can kill, can cause death?
If care is not taken, hypertension will be considered a normal sickness, but it could be prevented, it could be controlled, and the hypertension will not kill. As my experience in the United States for the past 35 years in the United States, I did not come across a single person died as a result of hypertension, because public are very, very aware about the sickness in the United States due to news media. Everybody is enlightened about what is happening. So, and the white people, the black people, the enlightened people, they know that, look, we have to prevent it before that sickness will come and take care of us. It can lead to death either immediately. It can also lead to death either stayed for a while, it will lead to death. You will be aware. The dangerous one will let you not to be aware. The good one, you will let you to be aware because it will show the signal, signs and symptoms of hypertension. But the deadly one, which will come to just to take care of you, coming in here, I will not let you know that will just come, have heart attack quickly. The heart will stop quickly. The brain will also stop. Now, when the brain is stopped, clinically, you are dead. So that what will happen. That's a deadly one. And it will come suddenly.
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 You don't need to do anything.
You don't need to do anything. You just say, okay, I'm going to bed.
How about the good one?
The good one is that will show the signs and symptoms of the hypertension that look something is wrong.
Do you need to do something before the good one comes?
Well, you see, the question in here is that the bad one will just pray. If you are regularly, you've been very, very careful with food you eat.
Okay.
You have to lose weight as much as possible. You have to minimize the intake of salt and sodium as much as possible. You have to lose intake of fat as much as possible. You have to lose the intake of sugar as much as possible. And you have to burn out the calories as much as possible. And you have to minimize the tension. Tension is a killer as much as possible. And you have to have enough sleep, at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep, whatever the case may be. You should not say that, look, I'm going after this my job, I'm going after take care of this business in here, and the sleeping impairment will be affected. So as a result of this, then you will have sudden attack of hypertension.
All right. Doctor, that was well explained. I'm sure viewers too, have gotten that there is the good hypertension and of course
and the bad.
All right, doctor. Okay, doctor. Now I know you have explained to us, how hypertension, occurs. That is, you said it's through genetic factor and other environment. So now, can you, expatiate more on the things responsible? Expatiate more for us.
Now, you see, we are talking about the causes of hypertension. The key is the cardiovascular system is affected.
Okay.
What is cardiovascular? Cardiovascular, the blood vessels, the blood, and the heart. And this is why they triggered the hypertension. Now, we know it's genetic, but you could be able to curtail the hypertension through the environmental factor. Now, if I know very well that, look, I don't think hypertension will kill me because I know the triggering factor of hypertension. Why? I would like to have a sleeping pattern regular. I would like to minimize anything that will take me to tension, anxiety. I will stop it as much as possible. If the family factors, I will be able to tell my wife and my children that, look, please, at this very stage, at this very level, I do not want to have any tension and anxiety within the system. Now, if there is any tension and anxiety, I may not be too long with you. So at this very time, I would like to have rest physically, mentally, socially, and psychologically as much as possible. 2, exercise. 3, eating fruits, vegetables as much as possible. I will do exercise at least 20 minutes, 20 to half an hour exercise every day. People in here, because of ignorance, thinking that to be fat is a sign and symptom of good living. I consider to be fat is a sign and symptom of deadly living. Deadly living. If you are fat, if you are huge, you will just count your life expectancy. You don't need to go and see the doctor. You do not need to go and see the doctor to explain to you the calorie intake. You are expected to consume maybe 1,400 milligrams of calories a day. But what about if you take about 3,000 calories per day? So 1,500 calories will be stored as fat in the system. So too much of fat will trigger the blood vessels, will trigger the blood, and will trigger the heart. So as a result, the hypertension would come in. So with these complications, your life expectancy is cut. You are fat for quite a long time. This system will not be able to survive 5 years without having impact, without having complications of fat, of salt, of fat, salt, and sugar. These are addictive food, and these are deadly food. So this one will trigger to decrease the life expectancy as much as possible. So as a result of this, then you have to make sure that if you have to see the doctor regularly as much as possible. You should not wait until when you have headache. You should not wait until when you have dizziness, giddiness. You should not wait until you have sleeping pattern before you go and see the doctor. You are expected to have a friendly doctor. You will be very friendly with the doctor. You are expecting to see the doctor regularly, maybe in a 6 months or maybe in a 1 year. If you have headache, see the doctor. You don't have a headache, see the doctor. At the same time, if the doctor says, well, your systolic is high, the diastolic is also high, you are diagnosed as hypertension, you are expected to put you on some medications. Now, you are expected to take this medication for the remainder of your life. Because as long as you are living, the worriness is there. As long as you are living, eating bad habit of food is also there. As long as you are living, if you have enjoyment yourself, you don't want to move. Even driving, you want someone to drive you. Even gardening, you would like someone to do it for you. Even putting your shoes, you want someone to do it for you. Opening the doors of your car, you want someone to do it for you. This is a deadly. This is a danger. You are expected to do exercise. You are expected to burn calories as much as possible for your life expectancy to live up to 70 and above years.
Now, Dr. Jibril, what are the signs and symptoms to look out for?
Now, the sign and symptom, that is presumption of a good, the bad and ugly hypertension. The good hypertension will present you sign and symptom of headache. That headache will not be solved by taking regular aspirin. All this analgesic will not be safe, and that headache is looking for something else. Okay, from which part of the body, from which part of the brain, from which part of the head that headache is appearing? Frontal lobe, occipital lobe. No, this is parietal lobe, frontal lobes, occipital lobes. These are the lobes where the headaches is coming from. Now, if it is frontal headache, then this is typically sign and symptoms of hypertension. 1. 2. Then you have sign and symptom of air whistling or air ringing. There will be a whistling around the air is going on. Wow! You gargle it, you clean it, you wax it. Still, it is whistling, it is ringing. Now, this is also sign and symptoms of hypertension. What about other sign and symptom of it? You will feel weakness. What about other sign and symptom of it? If it generated for quite a long time, then you have back pain. This is a confusion. The back pain may be the kidneys. The back pain may be spinal cord pain. The back pain may be muscle spasm. So these are the triggering factors of the sign and symptoms of hypertension. Giddiness is also in a part of it. Early morning weakness is also in a part of it. Now, this is a good sign and symptoms of hypertension to tell you that, look, I am affected. The vital organs are also affected. Care must be done. Otherwise, we don't want these organs to fail. So that's a triggering factor. So as a result, then you are expected to go and see the doctor. Then you are expected to do exercise. Now, for example, if the systolic went to 160, diastolic is 90. That is stage 2 hypertension. Now, if you walk for about a mile, a typical example, if you walk for about a mile, now this, get it down, from 160, get it down, to 140, which is not a danger level. Okay. But 160 is a danger level. Okay. 160 will show you that the kidneys will fail, or the heart will fail, or the livers, will fail, because there is a constrictions and vasodilation, which is also triggered, by the center, which is medulla oblongata, vasomotor center, which is the centers in the central nervous system that control the systolic and diastolic, which is the heart and the blood pressure. All right, so these are the factors that actually we have to look for it. Okay. But the bad part of hypertension is that there is asymptomatic. You wouldn't see any sign and symptom of it. You will just say, okay, I would like you to go to bed and relax. My sweet honey wife, my sweetheart, I would like you to go and relax. Please don't let me up. Okay. You will just, go, you will sleep, and then you will be able to have a massive heart attack, followed by sudden death. It will happen as a result of lack of care. It happens as a result of hypertension. Hypertension, the blood vessels will constrict. It's a constriction of the blood vessels. When the blood vessels are constricted, what will happen to the kidneys? Are not getting enough blood. When the blood vessels are constricted, what about the coronary arteries? Right-sided coronary arteries, left-sided coronary arteries will not be able to have blood supplying to the heart. So the heart will need, the blood. What happened to the brains? Central nervous system will not be able to have enough supply of blood carrying food. Then due to the crisis of constriction, dilatations, the blood vessels will rupture. So when the blood vessels are ruptured, what will happen to the contents of the blood vessels, which is the blood? It will ooze into the cranial cavity, which causes stroke. You have a stroke once, you may not, if you are lucky, you will have a second stroke. Stroke is warning that, look, I'm coming to take care of your life.
Briefly, in one sentence, is hypertension a lifetime disease? In one sentence.
Hypertension is a lifetime disease because tension is there. As long as tension is there, you are together with hypertension. So you are expected to take medication and advice from the doctor for the lifetime.
That was Dr. Hassan Jibril, who has been enlightening us on what hypertension is all about. Doctor, we want to thank you very much for coming to today's edition of Your Health. We do hope when we call upon you again, you will oblige.
Rekia, it is pleasure. It is extremely, very, very enlightened to be with you, to talk with you, with your wonderful program, NTA, Abuja. And I'm in here at your disposal.
Our lifestyle is one of the major causes of hypertension. We can start today by avoiding what will cause hypertension so that we can stay free and healthy. Until we come your way, same time, same station. Stay healthy and bye for now.